rough times. Now, Blackburn has given up an awful lot of hits in his last 2 starts, 21 of them in his last 14 innings over his last 2 starts. He's 0-2, but he's only given up 5 earned runs, so he's been mentally tough enough to pitch with a lot of men on base in his last 2 starts.
And that's what I'm talking about, figuring out a way to get it done when you don't have your best stuff.
Granderson takes an off-speed pitch that evens the count.
This is the other thing we'll look for today from Nick Blackburn. Use all your pitches. Start out with a fastball just off the plate. 1 ball, no strike count. Come with a changeup for a strike.
And Chuck Merriweather says that's strike 2. As we did yesterday, we've got the same pitching matchup that we had earlier this year in May in Detroit. Blackburn didn't fare too well against the Tigers at Comerica Park. In fact, it was his worst outing of the year. Backhanded nicely by Punto, 1 away. Rick Porcello had the benefit of some early run support. Blackburn struggled early on, and that one was pretty much put away early.
That one was put away early, but that was about the last time we've seen Nick Blackburn really struggle. It was about that time after that start that he started really picking it up. He found his sinker and has worked through a lot of innings.
There is young Rick Porcello, who will take the mound in the bottom of this inning. Ramon Santiago taking ball 1. Santiago in at second base for Placido Polanco, who played the first 2 games. And of course, Polanco got the 2 big hits for the Tigers in the extra innings on Friday night. That's foul, wide of the line. Past Greedy.
Kind of glad to see Polanco not in the lineup here today. He's been a real thorn in the side of the Twins and the whole league, really. He's made himself a fine player. I imagine we might see him before the day's over, though.
1-2 to Santiago. Tigers return home for the final week before the All-Star break. And now 2-2, and the Twins, of course, are staying put. Another off day coming up tomorrow. 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the White Sox. 2-2. Tried again to clip that inside corner and missed. The trouble that Blackburn experienced in Detroit against the Tigers started with walks. Rare as they are with Blackburn, he really got stung by a couple of walks early in the game and had a hard time with the hitters that followed the walkers.
What he learned from that outing, I think, I was talking with that man right there, Rick Anderson, the pitching coach for the Minnesota Twins, when we were last in Chicago to play the White Sox. And Blackburn told Rick Anderson, you know, I figured out that when things go badly, I have to slow down. I have to slow it down. That's a big learning experience for a young pitcher to understand when things aren't going well, when he can't find the strike zone, when the sinker's not sinking. What is it? What mechanically will help? And he's learned how to say, deep breath, slow down, don't try to throw it so hard.
Well, early on, it looks like the sinker's working. 2 ground ball outs to Punto, and now here's Miguel Cabrera.
And that's a good sign when 2 ground balls on 2 hitters, and that's where Nick Blackburn's bread and butter is, and he's one of the league leaders in most ground balls per outing.
There's a little flare that drops into right field. Cabrera has a base hit with 2 outs. The biggest inning for the Tigers against Blackburn in his last start against them in Detroit, a 5-run second inning, and it all blew up in his face after 2 were out. The first 2 men were retired, then walk, double, single, error, triple, single, and before you knew it, the Tigers had opened up a 6-0 lead. Here's Don Kelly. We've talked over the last couple of games about how the Tigers seem to be a team in transition. Witness who's hitting cleanup. Here's Don Kelly, who does not have a home run, and he's hitting 4th in the Tiger lineup. And Jim Leland in the past has had Sheffield, Guillen, Cabrera, Ordonez, you name it. They've had sluggers hitting 4th, and here's Don Kelly hitting 4th today. And he hits it right into the ground. Punto kept busy. A scoreless top of the 1st. had a 5-hit game here on Friday. Then Brendan Harris, Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau, Jason Kubel, Michael Kadire. Joe Freedy's been a real pest for the Tigers in his career. And then Young and Punto, who drove in the game-winning hit in yesterday's game.
And the Schmelz Countryside Volkswagen scouting report on Tigers' Rick Porcello. Sinker baller, pretty good sinker. Wants to run it away from left-handers, in on right-handers. And he has two kinds of breaking balls, a slider and then a little slower, bigger slurve sort of pitch that he throws a lot to right-handers. He'll throw a changeup off the fastball to left-handers.
Ooh, strike one, says Chuck Merriweather. Span at the plate. The average moving back northward. The 5 hits coming Friday. He was held hitless yesterday. And he hacks it into the Twins dugout off that Gatorade cooler again. That one took a shot earlier in this series. 2 quick strikes. Porcello, for the first time as a major leaguer in his last start, didn't strike out anybody. He's not a strikeout pitcher, but he didn't strike out anybody in his last start. And a check swing, 1-2.
That's the way he'll like to work left-handers, what we're seeing right there. Start with a sinker on the outside part of the plate, get ahead, try to come in. And that inside fastball will set up the changeup as well.
Span skips it on one hop to Santiago. Close play, 1 down. DQ defense for the Tigers. It's an improved defense this year, particularly on the left side of the infield. More athletic in the outfield. Kelly and Anderson flank Granderson. Inge and Everett cover a lot of ground. Very sure hands on the left side. Gerald Laird doing well and throwing out runners behind the plate. Everett making his 2nd straight start in this series. So 1 down, and Brendan Harris, the hitter. Harris not enjoying the series so much. 1 for 8 on Friday and 0 for 5 yesterday.
You were talking about the Tigers defense, Dick. It very, very much different look and feel to this ball club, as you were alluding to a minute ago with the sluggers that they've had at the plate in the past. They've gone away from that and gone for more defense. The infield much less porous this year, and the pitchers are pitching an awful lot better. That's why they're in first place.
Down low, and it's 2-1.
You really do win in this league with pitching and defense, and they just could not catch the ball well enough. The pitching staff as a whole did not pitch real well last year, but they really did not catch the ball very well at all anywhere on the diamond except Granderson in center field, and they've really changed that around.
Don't you think that's been the trend now in baseball? Maybe it's because of the decrease in the number of home runs, more balls put in play that can be played, and it just seems like more and more teams are emphasizing defense. The White Sox have tried to tighten up their defense and become a little bit more athletic as well. Porcello's got a good sinker, and he gets another ground ball out. 2 down. And that'll bring up the American League starting catcher in the All-Star game for the 2nd year in a row. He not only won the fan balloting, he took all the suspense out of it early. Which, when you think about it, he didn't play a game in April. That's remarkable that the fans around baseball realized his greatness and overwhelming victory in the fan balloting. He didn't even play a game in the month of April. And Morneau picked. Nathan as well, an at-large pick.
When you have the kind of May that Joe Mauer had, you don't have to play a game in April. He played.
That's right.
He had 2 months worth in 1 month in the month of May.
And it's 1-1. Well, Mauer,
these 3 guys, though, Dick, sorry for interrupting, but these 3 guys that are going to the All-Star game for the Twins, Mauer, Morneau, and Nathan, I think it's around baseball now, just like Jimmy Leyland said. I mean, they are among the elite in the game. Mauer and Morneau, as Jim Leyland said, 2 of the top 10 players in all of baseball, and that guy's the best closer in the game. Jimmy Leyland has an awful lot of respect for the Twins as a team and these 3 All-Stars.
and as much for how they conduct themselves as what they do on the field. And yesterday, in meeting with the media, Leland compared Mauer and Morneau to Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell in their heyday with the Houston Astros. Not just the numbers, but the professional approach that they each had.
Right.
2-2. The Porcello unimpressed apparently, because Mauer was 0 for 2 against him. Morneau was 0 for 2 against him. He just gave up 4 hits to the Twins, and 3 of those were hit by Jason Kubel. This one deep to the left field corner. Look at the run and a near catch by Don Kelly. We talked about there being more athletic, and Kelly streaked into foul territory and nearly made a great catch.
When that ball was hit, there's no way anybody's going to get close to it, and you're right, Don Kelly almost made a terrific play. Just getting there was quite an accomplishment, and not something we've seen from Tiger outfielders very recently.
2-2 to Mauer here in the bottom of the first inning. This one hit to left. Kelly back, and he makes the catch. A 3-up, 3-down, bottom of the first for Rick Porcello. Nice.
What's that?
It's symmetrical, kind of, sort of.
Well, you got on me for my circle drawing ability, or lack thereof, on Friday. I've been working at it.
Happy 100th birthday, by the way, to Irene Daly. She never misses a game, so we'll confidently say that she's watching here this afternoon and wish her a happy birthday today. Brandon Inge had hopes of making the All-Star team this year. He is on that ballot of 5 that will get the final spot, the online voting. Inge, Ordonez, and Anderson. I was interested reading Inge's comments about the possibility of making the All-Star team. And here's a guy who, you know, has been on a World Series team. He said it would be the highlight of his career. Fouled at the plate, 2 strikes. And you see comments like that, or you hear them, and you realize the All-Star game in baseball is different than the Pro Bowl or the NHL All-Star game or the NBA All-Star game.
It's totally different. It is just an absolute thrill to go and play with the best players and have all the guys that you admire around you when you're out there playing. I remember taking the field at shortstop in Seattle in the '79 All-Star game and looking around at all the guys that I had around me, and it was just a big thrill.
Now you went in 79, and then was there another one, or was that
nope,
that was a long one?
That was it.
How do you walk into the clubhouse and not have your jaw drop when you're hanging around the greats of the game? Yastrzemski, who else?
Well, you know, your jaw drops when you first come in the league and you play against all those guys, and you dream about one day joining them right there on the baseline when you're announced. It's just a huge thrill.
Ordonez quickly retired on a ground ball, 2 down. 2 away, and that'll bring up Josh Anderson. What do you get out of that? I mean, in terms of keepsakes, they give you like a ring, or
yes, there's a beautiful ring. It's not quite as big and gaudy as the World Series ring is, but it is a very, very nice memento of that experience. And there's a lot of stuff, you know, you get a lot of trinket type things. My favorite things besides the ring are each bat manufacturer has gives you a couple of commemorative bats, that style that you use.
Fly to short right, Cuddyer with a long run. Punto out, and it's Punto making the catch, tumbling in front of Cuddyer. A quick 1-2-3 second inning for Nick Blackburn. Justin Morneau to lead off the bottom of the second inning. Nick Blackburn's given up a hit. Rick Porcello has not. And he'll face Morneau, Kubel, and Cuddyer. Ball 1. Morneau with a 4-hit game yesterday, and the average jacked up now to 320. And including a home run, a check swing, and a strike. The 4 hits yesterday, raising Morneau's average on America's birthday. Of course, he's Canadian, but on the 4th of July, Morneau now hitting .545 on the 4th of July. I don't know what that means. Probably nothing, but he had a good day yesterday. 1-2 to Morneau. Missing the inside corner.
It has really, really been a pleasure and a privilege for all of us Twins fans to watch this young man grow up as a hitter and become one of the premier hitters in the game. I think the best thing that you can say about a guy is that he's a professional hitter. And Justin Morneau is a professional hitter. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark anywhere on the field. He can hit the ball with the opposite field with 2 strikes.
Hard ground ball backhanded by Santiago, 1 away. And Kubel will come to the plate. You can ask us a question online at carsoup.com/baseball. Mickey Donners of Hastings wondering if the Twins have ever had 3 100-plus RBI guys in the same season. And the answer is no, but they came awfully close 3 years ago when Morneau drove in 130, Cuddyer drove in 109, and Torrey Hunter drove in 98. That was the year that the Tigers led the division all year long. Twins chased them all year long and didn't catch them and pass them until 45 minutes after their season was over. And Jim Leland was talking about that yesterday. He says, people still talk about 2006 and, how we fell apart at the end and lost it to the Twins, the division title. He says, hey, that year, the Twins had the Cy Young Award winner, the MVP, and the batting champion. They were pretty good.
They were a good team, and they were hot that second half of the season, too.
Kubel has figured out Porcello. He's now 4 for 4 against him. Cracking one against the wall in right center field. He's the only guy in the Twins lineup that seems to be able to handle the young right-hander.
Jason Kubel, fast, becoming a professional hitter as well, and you can't throw him a sinker in the middle of the plate that doesn't sink. That sinker there straightened out. You can see had a little bit of movement, but it was more lateral, side-to-side movement, and that stays right on the fat part of the bat for a left-hand hitter. That young man, Jason Kubel, knows what to do with that fastball in the middle of the plate.
3 singles against Porcello in Detroit in May, and now a ringing double with 1 out here in the second, and now Cuddyer. Check swing, and they will appeal, and that's called a strike. Kubel had suffered through an 0 for 14, and he ended that promptly with a second inning double. And an awkward swing by Cuddyer on a sinker down and in.
That's Porcello's good one right there. Then what we'll see is a lot of those, and then some of the mediocre ones like the one that Kubel hit, and those are the ones that the Twins are going to have to jump on because he'll throw about 1 at a bat.
Wow. Picks up a strikeout of Cuddyer, 2 down, and that'll bring up Creedy. Nonprofit organizations all over Twins territory are using 2009 Twins games to raise money for their organization. You can receive tickets at a special discount and then resell them at face value and keep the difference. The potential's there to raise thousands of dollars. Call 833-TWINS and ask about fundraising opportunities for your group. Here's Creedy. And there's a strike at the knees. Creedy didn't agree. We got a wide strike zone here, a wide and a tall one, side to side and top to bottom. Creedy takes one under the arms. Brian Busher started yesterday. If you look at the umpiring crew for this series finale, Busher started yesterday at third base for Creedy, who played 16 innings on Friday. And Busher got a base hit in the 8th inning. He was pinch run for by Matt Tolbert. And we talk so much about one side of the Twins' decision to go with 11 pitchers. They're the only team in baseball right now with 11 pitchers. The other side of that is you get an extra bench player. And it's a move that was made yesterday that might not have been able to have been made if the Twins had 12 pitchers.
That's absolutely right. It's a great point, Dick, and it's a real luxury to be able to have that young man, Matt Tolbert, on the club strictly for some defense, spelling guys in certain games, and especially pinch running. One of the reasons they're able to use 11 pitchers right now, I think, is because of R.A. Dickey. With R.A. Dickey down there, he's able to chew up a lot more innings than as a knuckleballer than a normal pitcher might, and so they get away with it a little bit more easily, having 11 pitchers instead of 12.
High chopper hit right to the second baseman, Santiago. The Twins get a double but leave Kubel aboard. 2 scoreless innings and a lot of ground balls here inside the Metrodome.
Outstanding plays that would not go down in most people's minds as great plays. That catch right there on the ground ball was a tough hop, and here he has to go a long ways. I think Michael Kadire lost the ball in the ceiling. Nicky had to go a long way for a ball that the right fielder would normally catch and make a nice backhanded play. And you know, the thing about the Twins defense, we talk so much about how well they play defense, and most times people look at the fewest errors. They'll say, you know, this club just doesn't make very many errors. But it's not just they're great defenders, not just because they catch most of the balls and don't make errors. They make great plays, and they make the tough plays like Nicky has made those first 2 innings there that we just showed routinely. If he doesn't come up with either one of those plays, it really is not. You wouldn't look at that and say, boy, he just absolutely should have had that. Those are tough plays. They make those kind of plays. They make the routine, they make the not so routine, and they make the spectacular.
Snap bat and a little bouncer to short. Another ground ball out. 1 down. Fans, if you're having trouble getting your favorite TV channels, you may need a VHF, UHF antenna or rabbit ears. Make sure the antenna is pointed towards Shoreview, Minnesota. For more help, call KMSP WFTC at 952-944-9999. And if that doesn't work, do what I did in college and take a big sheet of aluminum foil and put it in the end of the rabbit ears. And if the aluminum foil is long enough, you'll get all the channels you want, plus a few maybe that you didn't know were out there. Here's Adam Everett. And a 1-hop chopper to Creedy. 2 down. Now the dangerous throw, and Morneau was able to nab it before the runner came by. Along the lines of what you were talking about with Punto, of course, teams preach, if you're having a tough time offensively, don't take your bad at bats out in the field with you. If you do, you'll end up in Rochester. I mean, we've seen that happen. In Punto's case, that hasn't certainly been a problem. He's been very steady at second and at short. But what's it do to a player who's been struggling offensively? And he didn't hit the ball hard yesterday at all, but he got the game-winning hit late in the ball game. That's got to pick up your spirits a little bit and get you even more ready to play the next day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. You just to feel like you're contributing to the club. It's not just because you want your stats better. You really want to feel like you're contributing to the team's winning on both offense and defense. And when you're not hitting, it really the world looks ugly out there. It's no fun to go through those things.
And Granderson takes up and away a ball, 3-1. First time through the order, 1 hit and 6 ground ball outs for Nick Blackburn.
Billy Martin told me when I played for Billy in my rookie year, I came up to him as my first big league manager.
This is with Texas.
With Texas, my first year. Granderson draws a walk, a rare walk by Nick Blackburn. But Billy told me when he sent me down from big league camp to AAA, and I was only down there for a month and a half or so before I got called back up for the first time to the big leagues. But he said, "Now I'm going to send you down, but you're going to be back up here pretty soon. If you go down there, if you're not doing it with the bat, then win games with your glove. And if you're not feeling real well, then figure out a way to get some hits. Learned that early on from one of the best. That you can't take it out. You can't take your offense out there on the field with you. And you got to figure out ways to contribute to the club any way you can.
Santiago with a swing and a miss. Did you like playing for Billy?
No. No, he was tough to play for. He was a great tactician, and as evidence, he's obviously a great manager. He won most every place.
Granderson goes, and he's in with a stolen base for Blackburn, the 6th stolen base allowed in 8 tries for Nick Blackburn, and Granderson swipes second fairly easily.
He got a real good jump. Blackburn pretty quick to the plate. Of course, we know Joe Mauer's terrific getting rid of the ball with something on it down to second, but that was stolen on Blackburn's move and Granderson's feet.
2 strikes to Santiago, and now a pitch outside.
And just to finish with Billy, I mean, the problem was controversy and stuff just swirled around him all the time, and it's hard enough to play up here in the big leagues without all those kinds of distractions.
1-2 to Santiago. Down the middle, a called third strike, and that'll take care of the Tigers in the third. Porcello, Young, Punto, and Span for the Twins, and the first pitch taken for a strike. Young hitting a home run here the other night, a double off the fence deep in left center field. And the hope is now with the nationally part of the schedule behind the Twins, Young will get more playing time and he'll get back into a bit of a groove that he had a couple weeks ago. 1-2. Up and away to even the count.
I think we're seeing better and better at bats and better mechanics from Delman with each passing day. And as I was mentioning on Friday night, he's got an awful lot of ability to hit.
Comes inside with a fastball and gets a strikeout. Kind of a curious little part of Porcello's delivery. His stride foot looks like it comes in contact with the ground in mid-stride.
He has a little bit of kick to his ankle right there before he hits the ground. In slow motion, it almost, you don't see it as well as you do in regular speed. In regular speed, he really kind of flips his left ankle at the ground, and I don't know where that comes from, whether that is by design, he is something that is a timing mechanism, or it's just an idiosyncrasy that he's always had. And
missing 2-0 now to Punto.
You see guys flip their gloves around sometimes. You see them kind of hook the ball or flip their throwing hand wrist around, but usually the feet are pretty quiet.
Well, the Tigers have walked Punto 3 times already in this series. He's gotten a couple of hits, including the game-winning hit. So hitting out of the 9-hole, he's been a real nuisance for the Tigers. He takes a strike, 3-1.
Walks are something that managers really can't stand, but to walk a guy that has been struggling at the plate.
Everett climbs the ladder to take a hit away from Punto.
The hardest thing about a line drive over your head as an infielder, especially shortstop, is timing your jump. You have to be able to read how fast the ball is getting to you, and when it's at the top end of your range like that, just a little bit early or late, and you don't make that play. That's a nice play by Adam Everett.
2 down. Here's Denard Span showing bunt, taking ball 1. Span with a 5-hit game on Friday and drew a huge walk leading off the 7th against Edwin Jackson yesterday. Tigers had just abruptly taken the lead on a 3-run home run by Maglio Ordonez, and the Tiger bullpen pretty much exhausted from the night before, and Jim Leland tried to get an out or two from Edwin Jackson in the 7th inning. And Span walked and ended up scoring the tying run. The Twins got the winning run in the next inning.
That was a huge run for them yesterday because it's such an emotional letdown when you let a club back in the game. You played 16 innings and lost. You got a 2-0 lead against arguably their best starter, and then you give up the lead right away. As you say, all of a sudden, make it 3-2. That can be a real emotional down, and for them to come back and get that run was huge.
2-2. I
really believe that all the players on the Twins bench, sitting on the bench, when they tied it up the very next inning, thought, okay, now we're going to go ahead and win the game. But had they not come back with that run, that would have been tough.
That's to short right center, and backpedaling is Santiago to end the inning. A 3 up, 3 down third, a pitcher's duel here in the Dome. And by 3 Wednesdays at Arby's. Here's the game reset. Nothing in the scoring column yet. Nick Blackburn has pitched well, so has Rick Porcello. The only hit allowed by Blackburn, a 2-out single off the bat of Cabrera.
And that ball not hit particularly hard.
Right.
He has good stuff and good location so far in the first 3 innings.
It'll pop up behind second. Punto with an easy play. 1 down. You can ride your Chrome to the Dome Day is coming up, and for more info, here's Brendan Harris.
Sunday, July 12th is Ride Your Chrome to the Dome Day, presented by Yamaha. Ride your cycle to the Twins White Sox game, you'll get free parking. Tickets are available at twinsbaseball.com or call 800-33-TWINS and ride your Chrome to the Dome.
1 quick out here in the 4th. Now, Bert has said he's had a motorcycle before, a Harley. Here's a fly to left, and Delman Young makes that catch. How about you?
Nope, I'm not a motorcycle guy. I like them. I think they're some of the Harleys that I've seen and some of my friends have are just beautiful, beautiful machines. But I'm not a motorcycle guy. I like airbags and iron and stuff around me.
2 down. Here's Brandon Inge. Inge isn't in the All-Star game yet. He has a chance. There's a sinker down and in, ball 1. One of those 5 will go. Sean Figgins, Brandon Inge, Ian Kinsler. Adam Lind has got to go on that list. He's been just fantastic for the Blue Jays.
All 5 guys deserving, and it really is too bad. There's only, you just have roster issues. There's only so many guys you can take. All 5 of those guys really deserve to go. I feel bad for Brandon Inge. As I mentioned Friday night, he has made himself such a good player. He's played a lot of positions for the Tigers. They've asked him to play. He's now back at third base, where he's really a good defensive player, and the bat's starting to come around with him.
And Nick Blackburn sails through the 4th inning. He gets a check swing strikeout of Inge and a 1-2-3-4. Kevin Youkilis at first base. Kind of hard to argue about any of these. I would imagine Jason Bartlett will back up Derek Jeter. Mauer handily winning the balloting behind the plate. Josh Hamilton, the one in there that, because he's missed so much time, a little suspicious, I guess, of his presence among the fan balloting. Here's Brendan Harris taking a strike.
I think the fans, after seeing the first round of that home run derby last year that Josh Hamilton threw up in New York, I think they want to see that again.
1 strike to Harris, just 1 for 14 in the series. Half swing and they'll appeal. Nope, 1-1.
There's a good example of how a pitcher like Porcello wants to pitch. Run the darting fastball in under the right-hand hitter's hands, get him thinking about having to be quick, and then throw the breaking ball away. That one was not where he wants to throw a breaking ball. He doesn't want to try to clip the inside corner with that, but the first pitch, fastball in, next pitch, breaking ball away. You got to get hitters thinking that they're going to get something hard inside, in order to open up the rest of the plate and your other pitches for you.
How about the tempo he pitches with?
I love it.
And he drives one right down the middle, and Harris is stuck with the bat on his shoulders, one away. That'll bring up Mauer. Now let's take a look at the National League side of things. Of course, Pujols at first base, and the rest of the lineup. Mark Grace and I yesterday were talking about how educated the fans are handling Ramirez in just about an invisible market, and yet the fans recognizing his talents and voting him in.
It's great to see the fans are paying that much attention, that close of attention to what's going on in Major League Baseball, because it's not just the people in the stands in the home ballpark voting these guys in.
Here's Mauer, voted in for the second straight year, hit a fly ball to left his first time up. He starts this game 2 plate appearances short of qualifying for the league leadership, and he gets a base hit.
All right.
That's the second time in this series he's beaten Detroit's shift. Now, they took a hit away from him yesterday because he hit one right up the middle, and Everett was playing near the second base bag, but he takes advantage of the shift here.
Yeah, look how interesting this is. Here's the shortstop right here, almost right behind second base, and then you can't see Curtis Granderson until right now. Mauer hits the ball through normal shortstop. Granderson was playing way over into left center, so they're playing the infield to pull against Joe, and the outfield around to shaded toward left field. Now, why would they do that? They have charts on where every hitter hits against them and against each pitcher. And those charts will show that Joe tends to hit, when he hits the ball in the opposite field, tends to hit it in the air more than when he hits the ball on the ground. It tends to be from the shortstop around toward first. And they have charts that show that. And to the casual observer, you would wonder why they would be so backwards. But generally, where the infield's around one way and the outfield the other way. But generally speaking, a guy, if he hits the ball to the opposite field, it will be in the air most times, more than on the ground. The bat just a little bit slower to the opposite field, a little bit underneath the ball, generally speaking.
They don't have a guy there.
No, there's no playing that. How hot is Justin?
Had about a 2 or 3 week lull in his first half, and then on the road trip, he found a spark, and he's ridden it to a sensational week, his 21st home run of the season.
And here's why he's so good. He can set up in the middle of the plate, try to hit the ball in the middle of the diamond so he doesn't pull off that ball, and he's strong enough to drive the ball out of the deepest part of the ballpark. When a guy can do that, he's got a chance to be a really, really terrific hitter. And Justin certainly is that. He has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark anywhere on the field, so he doesn't have to be in a hurry to pull the ball to hit a home run. It's a great ability.
1-0 to Kubel, and now 2-0. Porcello has not been able to retire Kubel. He got 3 hits against him in Detroit and cracked a double to the gap in right center field in the second. And Rick Knapp making a rare trip to the mound. As I said yesterday, as often as Jim Leyland goes to the mound, you could follow the Tigers till the All-Star break and not know who their pitching coach is.
Jim Leyland has control of his ball club, that is for sure. And when he has something that he wants to say to a pitcher, he wants to deliver it in person, not through or via the pitching coach, generally speaking.
And Porcello delivers the pitch before Knapp gets back to the dugout. That's how quick his tempo is.
Well, you know, when you're a defensive player, Dave, we talked about it a lot, but it's just so great to.
He's 5 for 5 against one of the toughest right-handers on a 3-0 pitch. He gets green lighted and lines one to center.
Jason Kubel has figured Porcello out, and what he has figured out is to make him get the ball up in the zone, so where he's a good low ball hitter anyway, but just make it be up enough where the sink doesn't really affect the flight of the ball off the bat. Where Porcello gets most of his outs is getting guys to swing at balls over the middle of the plate that are down, that they beat in the ground, like that one right there. And you just have to take that pitch if you want to be effective against Porcello, or he runs the ball in on right-handers and gets him thinking about that pitch and then throws breaking balls away. But mainly when you're up there as a hitter, you have to make the ball be up, because if it's knee high, it's going to sink a lot.
Missing the inside corner, 1-1. Porcello just 20 years old. The Tigers are in first place largely because of their decision to keep him on the major league roster and give him a turn in the rotation. He's rewarded them with a great first half and should get some Rookie of the Year consideration if he continues doing what he's done. The challenge for the Tigers, when you have a pitcher this young who pitched just 125 innings professionally last year, Kubel goes and Laird throws him out. Kubel looked like he was looking in as if there might have been a hit and run, and he's thrown out. He's not a base stealing type.
No, I think somebody missed a sign there. He's looking all the way, and either he saw a hit and run that wasn't there, or Michael missed it. I believe.
3-2 to Cuddyer.
And there's my answer. I think I'm right about that.
So you're thinking Cuddyer missed a sign?
Somebody did, and it could be that Jason thought he saw a hit and run sign and did not, but that was not. I think we're pretty clear with Gardy's body language there. That was not supposed to happen. Something there wasn't supposed to happen.
Chopped foul. Twins with 3 straight hits against Porcello. Started to talk about his pitch load, his innings pitched on the season. A stern look to the field by the manager. 3-2 to Cuddyer, and another chopper. There's an unwritten rule in baseball. Most organizations like to only increase the workload for a young pitcher by about 25%. Rather than, here's a guy who pitched 125, they don't expect him, nor will they let him pitch 225 innings this year. And another chopper. And Porcello, going through the American League at about the same age Jeremy Bonderman did years ago. Different situation because the Tigers weren't very good, so they shut Bonderman down after 160 innings. The difference apparently is going to be for Jim Leyland to decide what to do with your team in the race, and one of the anchors in your rotation being a guy who only pitched 125 innings last year. Cuddyer takes a walk, 4 straight batters to reach. Now you take that 25% and you figure it out of 125 innings, you're talking about 160 innings again.
Right,
roughly.
and there is such a movement in baseball now, as you're saying, to protect young arms. They're limiting innings as they come up to the big leagues. They're limiting pitches during the course of any given game, and it will be very interesting to see. I don't believe, knowing Jim Leyland as I do, I don't believe if the Tigers are in the race all the way through September down the stretch, I don't believe they'll just shut him down. I don't see how they can do that.
Tap foul by Creedy, 1-1.
I know my buddy Bert would be.
Well, that's why I brought it up today.
Spinning around in his chair here.
That's why I brought it up today, because he wasn't here. He was called up in May of his first season, 1970, and still pitched 164 innings. Now this one dropped into left field for a base hit, and Cuddier's going to race toward third. He'll reach safely. So the out at second base, Kubel thrown out, a huge out because the Twins are stringing things together against Porcello in the fourth.
I believe that we're going to find out that Michael missed that hit and run sign. Otherwise, I think Gardy would have maybe with Kubel coming in on the bench, I think he might have we'd have seen a conversation with him. But Michael making up for it a little bit with a piece of base running. A ball hit to the left of a right-handed throwing left fielder, which makes it a tough throw back to third base. And he got a good jump off of first base on the soft line drive by Creedy. So good base running to get around to third.
Young sharply to center, and Canayer scores. It's 3-0. Young jumped on the first pitch, put the barrel on it, and the inning continues.
Good for Delman. And what I have noticed recently about Delman, he's taking more pitches than I've ever seen him. His first time up, he took a fastball right down the middle. We all know that the Delman a little while ago would not have taken that pitch, but he saw a lot of pitches. Then he gets a hanging slider the second time up on the first pitch and drives in a run. I think it's important, at least the first time up, to see as many pitches as you can off the starter and not make a quick out on the first pitch, because you really don't know anything then. You walk up and you want to see what kind of fastball he's got, how much movement it is. If you make an out on the first pitch you see, you come back to the second time up and you really don't know anything.
5 hits and a walk from the last 6 batters, and now 1-1 to Punto, who lined out to Everett last inning. Fute-Need warming up. Jim Leland said yesterday, as a result of the 16-inning game here on Friday night, both Joel Zumaya and Freddie Dulce would be unavailable yesterday and today. He took them out of the bullpen rotation yesterday for today's game because of the pitch load. Unlike the Twins, who have an off day tomorrow, the Tigers open up a 3-game series tomorrow. So, the schedule impacts how the teams respond after Friday night's marathon. You got to save Zumaya if in a situation you might need him tomorrow.
Right, and I wonder if he would have done that had the Tigers lost the 16-inning game.
Yeah,
I wonder if he'd have been as quick to take either one of those guys out of the rotation for today.
3-2 to Punto.
He has the luxury. Jimmy Leland has the luxury of getting the first win. The worst thing that can happen to him now is he comes out only losing 1 game in the standings.
And now 7 straight batters have reached in the 4th inning. The only man that Porcello is retired was Harris, who was called out on strikes to start the inning. And they're loaded up for Denard Span. In Porcello's last start, he only lasted 4 1/3 innings. Gave up 5 earned runs and 9 hits with a couple of walks to the A's. Now the A's lineup, as Twins fans, I think, no, not the most potent lineup in the world, but Porcello really struggled getting outs against Oakland, and he's struggling here in the 4th. Span dribbles it toward the hole. Everybody's safe, and the ball thrown into the right field corner. Creedy scores. Young scores. Punto comes in, and a huge mistake by the Tigers. 3 runs are in on the play, 6 in the inning. The only play Everett might have had was at second base, but there was no one there.
Huge mistake by the second baseman, Santiago. Very late getting to the bag. Everett actually made a nice play to backhand the ball. We'll see here, Denard Span hits in the hole. You can forget about getting Denard at first. Everett makes a nice play, throws it high, but I think Santiago was late getting the bag and was in between strides there. Couldn't get up. That wasn't such a bad throw that I think Santiago couldn't handle it if he had been there on time.
So a 6-run inning. And Harris takes a ball down in the dirt, 1-1. An error charged to Everett. Span, I would think, would get credit for an infield hit and a run batted in, and then everything that happened afterwards happened as a result of the error, and that's correct. Right. So Span will get an infield hit, and then the error allowing the next 2 runs to score. Span all the way to third, 2-1 to Harris. And that'll be a tough play for Inge, but he makes it, and the inning ends. Good inning for the Twins. Maurer with a 1-out single, Morneau with a 2-run homer, and in all, 8 men in a row get hits or walks. At the Metrodome, the Twins break it open with a 6-run fourth. Roy Smalley and Dick Bramer, Burt Blyleven will be back here on the air on Tuesday. Justin Morneau starting the scoring with a home run, a ball rolling free out of the Tiger bullpen. So Blackburn will have to wait to deliver to Maglio Ordonez. Ordonez bounced to second on the first pitch he saw in the second inning. Now the first pitch of the fifth. Harris throws him out, one down. Josh Anderson to the plate. And our Arby's trivia question on this beautiful Sunday afternoon: who's the only player to be named All-Star MVP and World Series MVP in the same season? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I can think of one guy that it might be. In 1979, the year I was in the All-Star game, Dave Parker was the All-Star game MVP, I'm pretty sure. And I remember, and then the Pirates went to the World and won the World Series in 79.
But I think Willie Stargell was.
But I want to say it was Willie Stargell too. So
I'm just trying to think locally here. Harmon Killebrew squirted to third, and Creedy on the run throws Anderson out. Just eliminating the Twins MVP. Zoilo Versalles was the league MVP. Well, wait, this is All-Star game and World Series. Okay, so in '87, the MVP was Frank Viola. But I'm not even sure he went to the All-Star game in '87.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he did. How about Reggie Jackson?
Well, his most famous All-Star moment was in '71 in Detroit at Tiger Stadium.
He was the MVP against the Dodgers, I believe, when he hit 3 home runs.
Right, and that came in '78
or 7.
Right. That's a good question. Creedy fields it, knocks it down at least in foul territory.
How about Derek Jeter? Was he an All-Star game MVP?
Terry Steinbach was the MVP of the '88 All-Star game, and the A's went to the World Series, but I don't believe he was the.
He was not the MVP in '88 of the World Series. I'm sure of that.
How did Kirk Gibson not get that, by the way? He made one plate appearance. It turned the whole World Series around. If anybody could ever get it with one at bat, it would have been Kirk Gibson. 1-2 to Gerald Laird. Blackburn's given up just one hit, and it was a little flare to right off the bat of Cabrera. In 1991, of course, Jack Morris was the World Series MVP, and he started for the American League, but kind of a scary moment, actually. Jack took a line drive off his forearm and had to leave the game early. Starting for the American League in '91 in place of Scott Erickson. Another good inning for Nick Blackburn. Another 1-2-3 inning. And Nick Blackburn's very sharp here this afternoon as the Twins hope to take this series 2-1. Fu Tae-mi, the first Taiwanese ball player for the Detroit Tigers, comes in to face the three lefties, Mauer, Morneau, and Kubel in the fifth.
And we were talking earlier about how the Tigers and Jim Leyland would like to protect their young arms. This is Rick Porcello. This is one of the ways that they will do that. When the game gets out of hand early, just get him on out of there. And he could pitch under other more normal circumstances. They'd leave him out there, pitch another inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, whatever, to try and find himself again, get the experience of working through that. But this will be a way that they save innings on his young arm.
Down low to Mauer, his third plate appearance. If he gets 5 plate appearances today, he'll be leading the world in batting average in your morning newspapers tomorrow. He will, unless he's taken out, be guaranteed at least 2. 3-0.
Here's what we were talking about earlier. We see the infield pulled around that way, and the outfield pulled the other way. But last time up, Everett was right behind second base. Now he's moved over because Joe hit it through straightaway shortstop last time up.
And maybe the different defense because of who's on the mound.
And I was just going to, exactly right. I was just going to say that the charts will show that against left-handed pitching, Joe has a tendency to hit the ball through short a little bit more on the ground. So that absolutely makes a difference.
3-1 to the leadoff man in the fifth. And Mauer will take first base with a walk. So the average at 391 right now with the walk. He's aboard starting the fifth. Today, Twins players are wearing baseball caps featuring the various branches of the military. And you've got a chance to own one of those game-worn caps as they're currently being auctioned at twinsbaseball.com. Proceeds from the cap auction benefit 2 local groups assisting military families. And again, this auction is exclusive to twinsbaseball.com. Here's Morneau, clubbed a 2-run home run to center his last time up. High breaking ball and Laird to the mound. A week ago, the Twins were in St. Louis, and I spent a fascinating 15-20 minutes last Sunday talking with Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst, and in discussing baseball and more, actually. Here's Jim Leland now coming to the mound, and
not the pitching coach.
He'll have a few things to say to Foutte-Ney. But in talking with Schoendienst, we spent most of our time talking about his time in the military. Now, how do you suppose Jim Leland's Taiwanese is?
I'm betting that Foutte-Ney, well, that little pat on the back and the back of the neck is great communication in any language. That trip right there was basically, look, young fellow, these guys are pretty good. I understand you've watched these guys pound the ball around, but you've got good stuff, and you got to throw it over, and you got to try. The only way you're going to get them out is to throw the ball over the plate. So throw it up there and see what happens.
Somewhere in there might have been the suggestion, look, you've got innings 5, 6, and 7. They're going to be pretty ugly if you don't start throwing strikes. 1-1 to Morneau.
I think that was in there somewhere.
Little pop-up near the Twins dugout. Inge over for a look. And right on that borderline, but no interference called. Anyway, getting back to Red Schoendienst, I wanted to spend some time talking with his time in the military. And he was in the late 40s a professional player and was in the military for 2 years before his major league career actually began. There were 6 brothers in the Schoendienst family. 4 of them at that time were already overseas fighting for our country. And Red Schoendienst, was on his way. Here's a little roller off the end of the bat to Santiago, and Morneau beats the relay 1 down. Good hustle by Morneau in a 6-0 game to stay out of the double play. And that'll bring up Kubel. Anyway, it was just a fascinating story. As Schoendienst said, he was headed overseas, and then the war ended. He had a younger brother who was already ready to enlist should it come to that. But you hear stories like that, and it just happened to be a baseball family, the Schoendienst family. But it's nice to be reminded the sacrifices on this day that families have made in the past, and their commitment families have made to the military.
You bet it is. Red Schoendienst, a Hall of Fame second baseman. His family obviously contributed mightily to that World War II effort. And
gladly, the 4 brothers who were overseas, 3 in Europe, 1 in Japan, they all came home safely.
That's the best part of the story. And did you say Red ended up not getting deployed? He did not.
He served stateside for some extended time, and this all happened before his major league career started. Of course, Bob Feller went into World War II. Ted Williams served both in World War II and in the Korean War. Hank Greenberg. There are 3 Hall of Famers who served their time in the military, at least 4 Hall of Famers. Kubel takes up and away 1-2.
There's throughout baseball history been a lot of discussion about the 4 years that Ted Williams lost to Armed Services Service, and what his statistics might have been had he played 4 more full seasons in his prime.
Maybe a better shot at a double play here. And the Tigers turn that one. A leadoff walk, but Knee faces just 3 men in the 5th. $100 worth of scratch-off tickets. And Bert will be back circling people on Tuesday. Adam Everett leads off the 6th, and he takes ball 1 from Nick Blackburn, who has given up just 1 walk with 2 outs in the 3rd, 1 hit with 2 outs in the 1st. And the Tigers have been beating it into the ground most of the afternoon. 1-1. So you think Nick Blackburn is the ace of this Twins pitching staff?
I do. I think he's done it by example on the mound, about in many, many different ways about how to pitch. And by that I mean how to pitch when you've got your good stuff and what that looks like, and also how to pitch when you don't have your best stuff and how to compete. I think he's been very, very exemplary about what it means to be a big league pitcher, an effective big league pitcher.
Everett drives a base hit to left, leading off the 6th. Arby's trivia question, an interesting one, a thought-provoking one. At least it provoked thoughts for me.
I'm going with the shortstop. I tend to like shortstops.
Jeter?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's Derek Jeter.
Hey, there you go.
Well,
congratulations.
there you go. Well,
all right.
I love the shortstop MVP stuff.
You bailed me out twice here. Our announce booth streak is intact.
It's important to be a good pinch hitter.
You nailed Mark Burley on Friday, I guess it was, and Derek Jeter today. Here's Granderson, who drew that walk, stole a base in the 3rd when the game was still scoreless. On the basis of innings pitched, there's no question that Blackburn is the ace of the staff. He entered the game with a big lead in the innings pitched department, 107 1/3 innings pitched coming into play today, the only Twin in triple digits. The next closest is Liriano, who pitched yesterday. That's to right, and Kadire will play it on a bounce, and the Tigers start the 6th with back-to-back hits.
And I think Nick Blackburn is leading the club in quality starts as well, which would be in evidence by the fact that he's pitched the most innings. That would seem to follow, but that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. What makes him the ace of the staff for me is going out there game in, game out, and getting them deep into the game, 6, 7 innings frequently. You just kind of think he's going to pitch at least 7 innings every time he goes out there, and he doesn't always do it with great stuff. Sometimes he has to fix his mechanics, mid-game. Sometimes he has to figure a way to compete without his best stuff.
Drops a breaking ball over to Santiago for strike 1. Santiago with a bouncer to second and a strikeout.
There's a perfect example. A couple of hits on fastballs, and he remembers it's okay. I have other pitches. I have to show him other pitches here, so they're not just sitting on fastballs all the time.
1-1.
Even with a 6-run lead, it's important to pitch. I know Bert would be talking about this, and that man right there is, I think, a most valuable coach. He does wonders with this pitching staff, and he's really helped Nick Blackburn understand how to use all his pitches, how to find himself in the middle of a game. Even with a 6-run lead, you have to pitch. I know Bert would say that, has said that, and would say it today. You can't just decide to start throwing batting practice and hope the ball stays in the ballpark with a 6-run lead. You have to continue to pitch, use all your pitches.
Now, a trip to the mound by Mauer, and given the situation, you wonder whether Mauer didn't think that somebody was picking up some signs, maybe first and second. Punto came in. They had a brief chat. Is that possible?
Yeah, he might have thought that. He might have just wanted to be sure that they were on the same page with the signs. He might have Santiago fouled that pitch back, and I think Joe may have seen something. The ball didn't get to him, but he may have said, that wasn't what I called. Thankfully, he fouled it back. That wasn't what I called. Let's get this straight. We saw that the other night on Friday with Freddie Dulce with the Tigers and Gerald Laird. They were having a terrible time.
They fly to short left, and Delman Young with the catch. And a quick throw to Punto. One away. So Santiago chips one to left field for the first out of the inning, and that'll bring up Cabrera. Cabrera with a flare to right for a single in the first, and then he popped up to Punto in the fourth. Royals have taken a lead on the second place White Sox 4-2 in the bottom of the fourth inning. White Sox had a 7-game winning streak snap yesterday. Clayton Richard going against Brian Bannister in that game. Ball one. Cabrera last year for the Tigers, even though they had a hugely disappointing season, he drove in 70 runs after the All-Star break. Fouled away, 1-1. And if this Tiger team is going to stay on top in the division, they'll need days like the days Ordonez gave them yesterday, and they'll need Ordonez to be a big bat for them in the middle of the lineup.
That is a huge loss if Magdaleno Ordonez can't get back to the Ordonez of the past. This is such an aberration to watch him struggle at the plate the way he has. Such an accomplished hitter up until this year. That's a huge hole that you just can't fill. I mean, you don't. There's nobody in the minor leagues in anybody's system that you take a Magdaleno Ordonez 320 or 310 or whatever his career batting average is, with 20 plus home runs and 100 RBIs overseas. You don't take that out of the lineup and just go down to AAA and find somebody else.
1-2 to Cabrera. One away. Tigers trying to put together a threat here in the sixth against Blackburn. Off the knuckles and a little squibber. Blackburn with a great play to get the out. Going over the back slope of the mound and spinning and firing a strike to Morneau.
That was almost like chasing a lob in tennis. He throws his glove up just in case it goes in. The ball spins right back to him, and he has the presence of mind to field it and spin around and throw. Watch this ball spin and come back to him. He had no question. He had the best chance to make that play. He really, really made a good one.
And a pretty nice, smart move by Eric Cooper, the second base umpire, to duck out of the way. Could have gotten hit between the eyes.
Absolutely.
2 on, 2 out. And here's Don Kelly.
Well, what was really great about the play that Blackburn made was that he went after it at all. You see a lot of pitchers right there would freeze, absolutely freeze. The ball hit over their head. They don't know what to do. He actually went after it like a shortstop going after a pop fly to center.
1-1. Again, a curious selection for a cleanup hitter. Don Kelly does not have a major league home run. You've got power up and down this lineup. Inge hitting fifth, but Kelly gets the call to hit cleanup in front of Inge.
I think Jim Leyland wanted a left-hander sandwiched in between the right-handed hitters against facing Nick Blackburn.
And now 1-2 to Kelly.
And he doesn't have a lot of places to go with left-hand hitters in the lineup that have the ability at all to hit cleanup. And maybe Don Kelly will turn out not to either. But you look, it's going to be Kelly or Josh Anderson if he wants a left-hander in between the right-handers.
1-2 to Kelly. Got him. And Blackburn pitches out of a jam in the sixth. 6 shutout innings and a 6-0 Twins lead. Keeping the Tigers off the board.
He's pitched great. He's only thrown 72 pitches, 12 an inning. He's used all of the pitches that he has in his repertoire, and his fastball, his sinker is sinking, and he's throwing it on the corners when he has to. Mentioned in the scouting report early on, he can have a dominating sinker, and that fastball sinker has been very, very dominating today.
Well, I think even from the center field camera, you could see how that pitch ran in on Cabrera, and he just hit that little handle shot between the mound and second base. And then that same pitch starting inside to the left-handed batter, drifting back over the inside corner. Movement's a wonderful thing. People get so caught up in velocity, but if you can get the ball to dance like that, you can get a lot of people out.
That's absolutely the case, Dick. Movement is way more important than velocity, and it almost doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you can throw your fastball, even an 88-mile-an-hour fastball for strikes where you want them in the zone, and a changeup is 8 miles an hour slower, you can still get guys off balance.
Knee strikes out Cuddyer, 1 away. With the double play in the fifth, and maybe Knee settling down here and getting some guys out, it might be that Mauer won't get that fifth plate appearance here today. At this point, you almost hope that it doesn't, because that might mean the Twins only bat for 8 innings and they've got to win.
Yeah, we'd prefer him not to get 5 plate appearances today.
Here's Creedy, ball 1.
Unless it's because they scored another 8 runs.
Right. Creedy with a single in that 6-run 4th inning. Hey, I wanted to ask you, since you've been in the booth here for the couple of games here in this series, they tell us now that the Tiger Stadium is nothing more than a pile of rubble now. They tried to preserve it for a while and keep the shell of the grandstand up and all that, but that hey, times are tough, and if it costs money to do anything these days, you have to rethink it. So they went ahead and bulldozed the old girl down, and it's just a pile of bricks and sticks and all that. What do you remember most about Tiger Stadium?
I loved playing in that old ballpark. I really did. For the lore surrounding it, for the players that played there, the look of the stadium, and knowing that it was that Ty Cobb and Babe and Lou Gehrig and all those great players played in that same ballpark. But even on top of that, I like quirky dimensions. And it was 440 feet to center field. You couldn't hit a ball out of center field with a cannon. And but very short down the lines, especially to right field, which I love, being a switch hitter and seeing more right-handed pitchers and therefore hitting left-handed. It was great to hit in that ballpark.
Yankees are in town in a couple of days, and don't forget that Wednesday night it's a Hormel $1 a dog game presented by Country Hearth Bakeries. Enjoy dollar dogs and watch the Twins host the Pinstripers Wednesday with first pitch at 7:10. Tickets available and can easily be purchased by calling 800-33-TWINS or log on to twinsbaseball.com. 2 down, Delmon Young, the hitter.
And just to finish this thought about Tiger Stadium, what I remember about it most is how impressive it looked, because the second deck and the roof hung out so far over the first deck that wasn't set back that you could hit balls off the roof, off the facing of the roof of the stadium with just a normal fly ball home run, and it looked like you were hitting 600 feet. And I really, really liked that. That was fun.
2-0 to Delmon. 2-1.
I hit one off of Mark the Bird Fidrich, who unfortunately recently passed away. We were talking about the Bird, but I hit one up into the light standard up on the roof, and it was hit well. It probably might have gotten the third deck here in the Metrodome, but it looked just mammoth because up there on top of the roof where the light standard was.
Well, that's up in Reggie Jackson country where he hit the big home run in the All-Star game.
Yeah, but he hit it way up there. I was just kind of bouncing around the roof and the base of the deal, but it still made me feel like Reggie.
2-2 to Delmon Young. Of course,
plus I think we were talking about a different light standard too.
Yours was down the
line.
Mine
was a little more down the line. His was a little more out towards center field.
Lifted down the right field line, and a long run for Anderson. Cabrera chasing it, and he can't quite get there. Of course, Tiger Stadium is where the Twins celebrated their first World Series entry since 1965, clinching Game 5 in the ALCS at Tiger Stadium. Cecil Fielder with this blast, hitting one over or onto the roof. Harmon Killebrew and Frank Howard were the only other guys who have ever done that, and Cecil did it in 1993.
That is just a bomb to hit it up there.
Later, Mark McGuire did it. Bounce to the right side and into right field. So Young gets his second hit of the ball game, a 2-out single here in the 6th.
And you can tell in left field on that clip that we already saw Cecil Fielder go up there that it set the roof in left field and the second deck sits back.
Right.
But in right field, the second deck is exactly above the first the field the field deck. So it cantilevers out even with the first row of the second deck is right directly above the first row of the field level there. So it's an awful lot closer down the right, or was down the right field.
Here's Punto, drew yet another walk the Tigers have issued him. As the Tigers review what happened here in this series, winning one game, perhaps losing two. One of the things they will that will cause them sleeplessness, I would imagine, is walking the number 9 hitter at least 4 times in the series. To Punto's credit, you got to take the pitches and you got to work the counts and find some way of getting on base, and he's done a nice job of that.
He has done a very nice job. You take what they'll give you, but you're right. And managers know that you win division pennants and ultimately World Series by doing the routine things and the little things that don't show up much, and catching all the routine plays is one of them, and not walking guys that aren't swinging the bat well is another one.
1-2 to Punto. And let's say the Twins go on and win this ball game and the score resembles, the final score resembles what it is now. You can go into a series 2 and, despite your best intentions, saying, you know what, I'm not going to let Justin Morneau beat me. In essence, he beat the Tigers yesterday, and he may have beaten them today with the first home run of the game. You know, you can come into a series adamant that one guy's not going to beat you, but the way the game is played dictates so much about what the outcome is going to be.
Right. Well, you can't just walk Justin, in every situation every time he's up there.
Right.
So you just can't do it. Sometimes you have to pitch to him, and he's been hot. He's got pitches to hit when they have had to pitch to him, and he's really punished them.
Punto having a lengthy at bat here in the 6th against Nee.
I know Jimmy Leyland, to your point, when he came into this series thinking about how it might go, the two things that he would say are not going to happen is we're not going to give free passes to Nick Punto, and we're not going to let Justin Morneau beat us.
And both have happened.
Both of them. That's how they may turn out losing 2 of 3.
1-2 to Punto. Targets inside. And Punto fouls one straight back. One other thought about Tiger Stadium. I guess one thing as a broadcaster I always enjoyed was the location of the press box. I noticed it as a kid, as a viewer in the 60s. The cameras seemed like they were right on top of home plate. And you just seemed so much closer to Harmon Killebrew and Bob Allison because the camera was right behind home plate. And then broadcasting games there, you seemed like you were sitting right on top of home plate.
And really, you pretty much, were sitting right on top of home plate.
Yep.
One of the great baseball images that I have is Ernie Harwell sitting there with, out in the open because the windows were open, and he was, you could hear him from the field sometimes broadcasting the game. He was so close, and that distinctive voice that he had. That, again, that's part of the legacy and the lore of Tiger Stadium. Ernie was a big part of that.
2-2 to Punto. Of course, the Tigers have a beautiful new ballpark, Comerica Park. Twins will move into Target Field next year. And Punto really having a long at bat here. So
really good battle by Nicky. You know, you can see that he's got more confidence right now. You can just see it in his body language. You can see it in the kinds of at-bats that he's having, and then hopefully that will carry over to some more hits and some. You know, it's funny. Your mechanics get a little bit messed up, and you don't get hits. And
here's our overhang here. You're talking about the overhang at Tiger Stadium. And we have this one.
And we're a long way from the field. One of the things I was going to say is that in the new ballpark, wow, very close pitch. Real good eye, Nicky. Real good.
Nee thought he had strike 3.
In the new ballpark, what Twins fans have forgotten is what it is like to be close to the field and the players, and they will be that in Target Field. There's, you know, what is the 10 feet down into the from the first row down to the playing surface here. I mean, that will be totally different next year.
What an at-bat for Punto. A tremendous at-bat. It's a 6-0 game, but Punto's going to really think of that at-bat and think of it fondly through the off day tomorrow. That was a great battle.
Foul off pitches, and finally get one you can handle and hit the ball the other way. There are 3 things that he's going to love about this. He's going to love the battle that he put up there. He's going to love the hit, but he's also going to love the fact that he hit the ball the opposite field. That's a good stroke for him right there. One that I'm sure the Twins would like to see him have more from both sides of the plate, hitting the ball on the line to the opposite field. He struggled right-handed most of the year, even more so than left-handed. That's again, just a little building block of confidence for Nicky. That's great to see.
Here's Span. Span came up with the bases loaded in the 4th inning. 2 were out. And hit a ground ball toward the hole. Everett made a nice play, fired to second. It looked like it would have been too late to get the force play at second anyway. But Everett's throw sailed past Santiago down by the Detroit bullpen. 3 runs scored. And the single most significant play of this game, perhaps, Span was credited with an infield hit and a run batted in, and then 2 more unearned runs followed. 1-1.
Going back to Nick Punto's last at bat for just a second here, Dick. Sometimes in the major leagues and in baseball, you have to teach yourself. And we look at batting coach Joe Vavra. Nicky's been pulling off the ball, looking like he's trying to pull the ball, and his body is trying to pull the ball, whether he is specifically or not. His mechanics have been a little spinny, meaning he's opening up a little bit quickly, and which is more of a pull type swing, and he's not that type of hitter. And I know Joe Vavra has worked with him on staying in, staying close, hitting the ball the other way, but sometimes you have to teach yourself. That little at bat, that little single to right field.
Everett with a nice stop, but no play, and Span will get another infield hit.
Saved a run. Almost made a great play to get him out of the inning, but he did save a run, diving and knocking that ball down with 2 out. But just to finish on Nicky, sometimes you say, okay, that's how I hit the ball to right field. Now I get it. As you see Everett make a nice diving catch and then not able to transfer to his throwing hand to flip the ball to Santiago. The ball came out as he was trying to make the transfer. Good play to save a run. Almost a terrific play.
So now they're loaded again, this time for Harris. And here comes Rick Knapp. Harris with a 1-for-16 series. His only hit was the fly ball triple he hit off Josh Anderson's glove on Friday night late in the ball game. The triple that followed Denard Span's triple. So Rick Knapp was telling me the other day when he makes trips to the mound here with Fu Te-Nee, he just tries to use words that Nee might have picked up by now, like strikes, high, low, and you know, you bring players in, and most of the Hispanic players who work their way through the minor leagues have taken enough English classes. Here's a guy from Taiwan whose grasp with the English language is extremely limited.
I would have a hard time going out and talking to him because I tend to talk with my hands anyway. I'd be showing everybody on the field what I wanted him to do. Either pitch it in here or out there. Or
Zach Miner warming up as you saw, and here's Harris with the bases loaded and 2 out. That's down the right field line. The little slice foul. Harris cracked his bat in the process. What the 3 2-out hits have done here in the 6th is increase the likelihood that Joe Mauer will get that 5th plate appearance, which will qualify him for league leadership finally in the batting race. Mauer at 391. The league leader, as listed, Ichiro Suzuki at 365. And then you drop down to Scott Rowland at 331. And Mauer on deck, hoping to get one of those plate appearances yet here in the 6th. Two strikes. Well, quite a pitcher's duel at Yankee Stadium. Chances are a few home runs hit. They're in the bottom of the 5th. And it's 10-8 New York. Jabba Chamberlain against Brett Cecil.
I imagine there have been some balls flying through that jet stream to right center in that game.
There might be more players who have hit home runs than not at that point in the game. 2 strikes. And Harris continues to have a frustrating series. He leaves the bases full. 6-0 Twins going to the 7th.
Off the bat of Justin Morneau, the other big swing, a little infield chopper from Denard Span. But Adam Everett makes a nice play, but then throws the ball in the right field, and all 3 runners come around to score. It really broke the game open. Twins now remain 6 runs up as Nick Blackburn starts the 7th inning in a dominating performance so far.
With 72 pitches, now 73, and he delivers ball 1 to Brandon Inge. He'll be followed by Ordonez and Anderson. Off the knuckles, Creedy, 1 away. Tigers have had 1 threat. They started the 6th inning with a pair of singles, Everett and Granderson, and then Blackburn went to work.
And this is what he has done so well. Just jammed the heck out of Cabrera and then makes a terrific defensive play on his own to make to get the 2nd out of the inning against a tough hitter. Now watch this at bat. Here's a cutter to Don Kelly. Again, bases loaded. He goes away with a sinker and then just buries it inside. That is pitching right there, out of trouble. 3 nasty pitches, nowhere near the middle of the plate to get Kelly and get himself out of the only jam he's been in today.
Ordonez has seen 2 pitches. He put them both in play, grounding out each time, and he takes ball 1. You know, Ordonez, the designated hitter today, and a lot was made of the Tigers releasing Gary Sheffield, needing a big contract late in spring training. Sheffield left the Tigers with 499 home runs, but one of the reasons they did that is they realized the DH spot might be better used by Carlos Guillen before he went on the disabled list, or Ordonez, whose mobility in the outfield is not what it once was. So the Detroit roster aging over the years, as much as anything else, made Sheffield expendable, even to the point of having to eat his contract.
Yeah, I think that you have to go with your best roster, and and if you're trying to win, not worry as much, not be as concerned about having someone there because you owe him the money anyway. But they were just, I mean, they had no idea Ordonez was going to totally lose it at the plate, and Guillen, who's another terrific offensive player, was going to go on an extended DL visit.
But you look at the Tigers, and they've been in first place most of this season. And Ordonez's offensive struggles aside, he is pretty much a liability defensively. He strikes out here, out number 2. Guillen was shifted to the outfield last year, and I don't know that he would even profess to be a great defensive outfielder by his own admission. So they've tried to improve defense. The release of Sheffield almost necessary, I would think.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there was no way that that Gary Sheffield, as good as he's been for so long, there was no way for him to be on that roster. But the point that you make is also
a line drive single to center by Anderson with 2 out.
The point you make about the changing of the guard in terms of the roster for the Detroit Tigers points out that you win here in the major leagues with pitching and defense. And they, as strong as they were offensively a year and 2 years ago, they couldn't catch the ball. They brought Cabrera up to play third base. Guillen's going to play shortstop. They had blanking on the fellow's name that played first base, that left-hand hitter that was with Cincinnati.
Sean Casey.
Sean Casey. So you have this great potential offense. Then they had Guillen at first. Then they moved Guillen to first base.
Then they flip-flopped. They put Guillen at third for a while.
They had the other shortstop,
Renteria.
And then it turned out none of those guys could catch the ball. Then they flipped Cabrera over to first because he was really not good at all at third base, and he wasn't adequate at first, and Guillen wasn't adequate at third.
This one laced to the right field corner. Kadire with a nice running, reaching catch to end the inning. 7 shutout innings for Nick Blackburn as the Twins make a bid to win the series.
And can we talk about defense?
This Friday night, the Twins open up a 3-game set against the White Sox, and you can start preparing for outdoor baseball with Twins sunglasses. The first 10,000 fans will get the sunglasses courtesy of Graph Optical. You can get your tickets by calling 833-TWINS or log on to twinsbaseball.com. I would think you'd really be set for Target Field with the sunglasses and the Twins cowboy hat. Zach Miner comes out of the Tiger bullpen to pitch to the Twins in the bottom of the 7th. Miner coming into the game for the 23rd time. He'll face the lefties Mauer, Morneau, and Kubel.
We were talking on Friday night, Dick, you mentioned that Zach Miner, one of the fellows that had been considered for a starting role in the Tiger rotation, but they need him as a longer relief man out of the bullpen, and that also points out how critical the bullpen is, and especially, and not just the closer. You got to be able to get there. You have to be able to hold other teams down in the 5th, 6th, 7th innings to get to your 8th inning guy and your ninth, and then your closer. And it really has become an important role in the way the game is played today to have guys like Matt Guerrero and R.A. Dickey, and guys that can keep games close or get you until your team battles back offensively, or get to your closer. That they're a little hurting a little bit on the mound for starting pitching, and they've got a guy that they think could do that, but they don't want to move him because they got to keep him in the bullpen. That's a recent phenomenon.
Mauer with a single and a walk. The average at .391, facing Miner, who really struggled here on Friday night. Jim Leland talking of Friday night's game afterwards, saying it was a big win because it would have been a terrible game to lose. It was painful for the Twins. It would have been just a terrible loss for the Tigers because they had a couple of 6-run leads, 6-0 and 7-1. Miner got him out of a jam in the 5th. Then Creedy opened the 6th with a home run, and Miner, by the time he left the game, was charged with 5 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. 1-1 to Mauer. Mauer tied the game with a sacrifice fly, but Miner was already taken out of the game by that point. So on the season, he's done a nice job, but he was largely responsible for the Twins jumping back into that game here on Friday night.
And you're right, as painful as it was for the Twins to play 16 innings and lose, it would have been really ugly for the Tigers, who have struggled scoring runs anyway, to jump out to two different 6-run leads and not be able to hold it. If had they lost, then that would have been emotionally damaging, no question about it.
3-1, and Mauer bounces it to second. And Minor gets him for the first out of the 7th inning. So 1 down, and that'll bring up Morneau. And Minor shaking his head, not happy with his pitches early on in his appearance here today.
He didn't want to go 3-1 to Joe, and he knows he got away with one there. He made too good a pitch. He made a 3-1 cookie pitch to Joe, and Joe rolled over the top of it a little bit. You don't see that swing from Joe very often on that pitch.
Justin Morneau said today that he certainly would not be in the All-Star Game home run derby if he did not make the team. Well, now he's made the team, and he'll wait to be asked. As he joked, maybe they'll get enough people declining the invitation and they'll get around to asking him, and he might say yes. Twins getting 26 home runs from the cleanup spot. Remember, Morneau has only spent about half the season so far there. The Twins going with Mauer second, Morneau third, and then Kubel fourth. Kubel did a nice job in the cleanup spot, and Morneau gets his second hit here today.
And I can't believe that they will not ask him to come back and defend his title. He won't have to wait long to get asked back into this. And as impressive as Josh Hamilton's first round was, Justin was even more so over the course of the home run derby, finally winning it. Just every time at bat, he was hammering home runs into the right field seats all over the place in Yankee Stadium. And even though Hamilton hit,
27 or something like
7
that
in one
round.
run, it was just awesome. It was an awesome performance. Justin, as he is every day, just Mr. Consistency, hitting the ball out of the ballpark in the derby.
Well, Joe Vavra's All-Star break is hanging in the balance because Joe's his batting practice pitcher.
That's right.
And so if Justin is asked and if he accepts, that means Joe Vavra will probably be going to St. Louis during the All-Star break.
And Joe did a great job pitching. That's an underappreciated art right there. It's not easy to throw home run pitches time after time to a guy like that. There's a lot of pressure involved. I mean, there really
Yankee
is.
Stadium
in
of all
Yankee
places.
Stadium with all those people watching the stadium and millions of people watching it on television, and Joe's got to serve up home run pitches. I got to believe that the first two or three pitches, there was not a whole lot of feel in his fingertips throwing those balls up there.
And a called third strike. Kubel is called out on strikes. 2 down.
We used to call this a umpire getaway day, strike 3. I don't think so. Gerald Laird didn't catch that ball very well from the side there. It actually looked better than it did from center field. I believe it was low.
Fastball wide. Kadire hoping to get a hit here. It would be his first. He hasn't put a ball in play. He struck out twice, walked, and scored. 6-2, Kansas City leading Chicago. White Sox starting the day a half game ahead of the Twins. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Ron Gardenhire talked about that the other day, about how when he was pitching to Morneau in the home run derby, he didn't do a very good job because Justin didn't win it. In that instance, you want to give up home runs. You just want to lay it right in there. So
the key to giving up home runs as a batting practice pitcher is to throw consistent speed and consistent spot in the strike zone.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to throw it right in the perfect spot, one spot every time, but you should be, generally speaking, right around the heart of the strike zone most pitches. These guys get on a roll in these home run derby things. They get a rhythm going.
a liner scalded to Inge, ends the inning. Well, happy birthday. Just partying it up as a 2-year-old and paying the price on her 3rd birthday. Adam Everett leading off the 8th inning. Nick Blackburn, as Francisco Liriano did yesterday, all but giving the bullpen a break yesterday, and Blackburn possibly with a complete game here today. Morneau makes the catch, 1 away. Since the digital TV switch, if you're having problems getting your TV channels, you may need to double rescan your channels through your TV or converter box. For more help with double rescanning, call KMSP WFTC at 952-944-9999. Now, I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever rescanned my channels, and now you got to double rescan it. It's like, is that in Animal House double secret probation, or?
I don't know.
1-1. Yeah, as you know, they're saying in the truck. What we used to do is just bang your set on the side with your hand, or throw a shoe at it or something.
Right, but a double rescan, does that mean you scan them 4 times, or a double rescan?
Well, you'd scan it,
and then you rescan it, and then you double it.
That's right. Morneau coming in from a deep first base, makes the catch, 2 away. So 2 gone, and that'll bring up Santiago. Now Blackburn has gone down this road before a couple of times this year, where he's had a shutout into the 8th inning. Once in Oakland, it all fell apart on 5 pitches, and the game, the lead, the shutout, it all blew up in his face in the 8th inning. And then he had a shutout here in the last homestand that fell apart in the 9th inning. He still got the complete game. Here's Santiago. Of course, he had a great game going in the Milwaukee, and that all fell apart when he threw wildly. Span with the catch, and a quick top of the 8th inning, and a shutout so far for Nick Blackburn. He'll be part of history by coming out to the Dome. It's a 6:10 game, and before the game, Radke and Brophy will officially take their spot in the Twins Hall. Fisher Nuts, the proud sponsor of the Twins Hall of Fame, and they'll be providing 5,000 commemorative pins. So come out early. Tickets are available. Call 800-33-TWINS. So that'll be an interesting series for Joe Crede. First time his former team is playing at the Metrodome this year. Fouled away, 2 strikes. And the Royals are leading Chicago now 6-2 in the top of the 7th inning. Crede, Young, Punto. The Twins need 3 men to score or reach to get Mauer to the plate here in the 8th inning with his 5th plate appearance. It's inevitable, of course, because barring some injury, Joe's going to get there maybe as soon as Tuesday, but he has a chance to get there yet today. With that 1 extra plate appearance, you need 3.1 per game played. 2-2.
Joe hitting 390 something.
It was 391 before his ground out in the 7th. Right.
So high 380s, maybe 390. But it's amazing to think about Ichiro hitting 365 and being second at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit 365 at the break. I got to say, my bet would be you'd be leading the league.
Yeah. 3-2.
But not with Mr. Mauer in the league.
Pulled foul. The American League Central's taken some shots this year because no team has pulled away with a great record to run away from everybody else. But you could say the same thing about the American League West. Speaking of Ichiro, great hitter on a Seattle team that's only 2.5 games out. 4 games above 500, but well within striking distance. And Creedy shoots one into the right field corner. A foul ball. So it's not just the American League Central. The Angels have dealt with injuries and worse this year, and they're leading the division along with Texas. Oakland, the only team that's fallen back in that division. There are 3 teams in contention in the Central. And in the East, Boston and New York with a little bit of a cushion on Tampa Bay and Toronto.
If you look around baseball, there's a lot of parity now, and in every division you've got fairly close races.
Good at bat for Creedy, and there's one guy reaching.
Even when the divisions aren't really strong.
And it's been that way, and it's been growing in that direction. And isn't that good for the game? I mean, it wasn't that long ago the Tigers lost 119 ball games. The Royals were bad, and the Twins and the Indians cleaned up on both of them.
Good swing by Joe Creedy, especially with 2 strikes. Again, Zach Miner not happy with his location, but good 2-strike battle for Joe Creedy. And yes, you're right, Dick. I think it's very good for baseball that so many teams are staying in it.
A little bobble by Everett, but he still starts a double play, 2 away. You know, there are some bad teams out there. The Washington Nationals are 32 games below 500. And the Washington Nationals appear to be the reincarnation of the Washington Senators.
That is so hard to be out of it before the All-Star break. I don't think I was ever on a team that I was on a few that by August you were playing for pride, but boy, this is early. I feel bad for those guys.
Well, they're whispering that the Nationals this year might be the worst team ever, worse than the '62 Mets, who won just 40 ball games in 1962. Lost 120.
Yep. There's an old saying in baseball that you start the season, you know that every team is going to win 60 and every team's going to lose 60, and it's the other 42 that determine. And the Mets, the '62 Mets, kind of
blew
a hole in that old saying.
You get to this point of the season, and we've just crossed over into the second half for the Twins, but just reduce it this way. Let's say there's 7 games in a week, and the difference in winning 4 games a week or 3 games a week, that one game, and everybody has games that you lose that you shouldn't have lost, and you win that you shouldn't have won, but just that one game a week over the course of the whole season makes all the difference in the world.
I think it's one of the biggest differences in baseball as a game, other than any other sport, is the small statistical amount of change that determines a batting average over the course of the season and a winning percentage for a team.
Joe Mauer won't get his 5th plate appearance if Nick Blackburn does his job. Here's the game reset with the Twins leading 6-0. And all season long, perhaps, has been one stepping stone after another for Nick Blackburn as he tries to complete his first shutout. First pitch to left center field. Denard Span over there to make the catch with Carlos Gomez now in center. Blackburn has threatened to get that shutout on 3 different occasions this year. He did get a 9-inning complete game here a few starts ago against the Pirates, but with 2 outs, Eric Hinsky doubled and he scored on a LaRoche single, and the shutout slipped through his fingers. So he's taking nothing for granted, but he's got a chance here to complete the shutout with 1 quick out. Ball 1.
And I'm not going to say anything to jinx him.
Oh, you're not going to. Oh, you're going to play the superstition game? Sky.
I have no choice. I'm superstitious.
Gomez looking at Span, and now Span has the ball bounce out of his glove. So hold on to your horses here. Kelly is at second base on a towering pop-up. And a Span error, I would imagine it will be charged, and the shutout certainly isn't in the books yet.
I think they're both trying to find the ball. Carlos Gomez never really had a good view of it, and then when Denard finally found it, his glove was in a bad position.
Here's Brandon Inge. Check swing and a strike. You know, balls hit to the gap in left center field have been a trouble spot over the last couple of weeks. We've had near collisions. We've had a center fielder take it away from a left fielder take it away from a center fielder. And this just the latest chapter in what's been a pretty ugly pattern. 2 strikes.
One of the reasons is with the Twins, you got 2 center fielders out there. One of them is playing left,
right,
and one of them is playing center. The one playing left knows he can go get the ball, and most times will be camped under it comfortably. The center fielder knows that the center fielder is in charge out there, and he's supposed to go take charge of everything in the gap. And so you're going to have, particularly with the Twins, you're going to have a little bit of an issue out there between those 2 guys.
Up high, crowd starting to get into it, and I think they're well aware that Blackburn has been frustratingly denied that first career shutout in some rather bizarre circumstances with everything that happened in Oakland, in Milwaukee, and even here against Pittsburgh. 1-2. And Inge, who has already struck out twice tonight, an awkward swing that turned into a defensive swing.
Blackburn sinker, that 2-seamer that runs in on right-handers, sometimes down, sometimes just hard in. That's a tough pitch for a right-hand hitter to handle. And it would be disappointingly ironic, wouldn't it, Dick, if Nick Blackburn were not able to complete the shutout, mainly because the Twins defense fell down on him a little bit. That's just not something that you would draw up at all. You wouldn't expect that.
99th pitch, driven to left field. And Inge hits a home run, and there will be no shutout for Nick Blackburn. Now, you're not going to make me superstitious, but since we talked about it, and Blackburn just can't seem to get that elusive shutout.
And that's too bad. That was maybe the only bad pitch he's made tonight. A little slider that stays right in the middle of the plate. That speeds up Inge's bat. That's just like a batting practice. That slider that stays in the middle of the plate is kind of like a batting practice fastball.
And now a drive to right center field, and Ordonez has a hit. So 3 straight men have reached with 1 out, and that'll bring up Josh Anderson. And the bullpen, which had been quiet, save for a couple of starters getting some work in, might actually get fired up here with the Tigers starting to rumble a little bit here with 1 out in the 9th.
Blackburn still with just 100 pitches. So you would think that he would, as good as this stuff has been, you would think that he would be able to go ahead and finish it off. I hope he can.
There's been a couple of these for Nathan over the last couple of weeks. Looks like he's going to be the guy warming up. There's strike 1. Nathan had a 1-out save here the other day. I guess that was in Kansas City. That 10-0 game that evolved into a save situation in Oakland.
Oh,
great stop by Morneau, and he'll get the out at the bag. Justin Morneau fielding a rocket and turning it into an out.
This is as good a play as you're going to see a first baseman make for a number of reasons. The ball was ripped to his left. The quick has to have quick reflexes, and the hop itself not all that easy. He has to be totally stretched out. Watch him dive and stretch out as far as he can. Good decision. The runner's in the way of the throw. Get it out there. Terrific play.
That ball was past him.
Yeah, it was scalded.
Here's Laird. Tigers down to their last out. And the Tapper foul. Twins split a 2-game series in Detroit, and they're 1 out away from winning 5 of the 6 games so far this year here. And they're 1 out away from being 2 games out of first. And a bunt, and a beautiful one. Creedy nearly tagged out Ordonez. A smart play by Creedy, and now suddenly this is a save situation for Joe Nathan. Everett, the hitter, the tying run is on deck, and if Nathan's ready, he may get brought into the game here. Mauer out to buy a little time, perhaps, for the closer.
And I think Gardy will let him. That's really a smart play by Joe Creedy to think about the runner Ordonez behind him, who just happened to be trotting in, thinking there would be no possible play on him. Really smart play. I think Gardy will let him pitch to Everett. I think this is his last hitter. One way or the other, he's either going to get his complete game, or Nathan will pitch to Granderson.
Everett 1 for 3. Down the middle of strike. He's pitched so marvelously and so many times. It's been 1-0 after another through 6-7 innings. Sooner or later it's going to come. Right now he's just focusing on finishing off a complete game. Fouled back, and now he's 1 strike away. Of course, Kelly's run, because he reached on an error, would be an unearned run. Inge's run scored would be an earned run. Two strikes to Adam Everett. One and two.
He's carried good stuff right here into the 9th inning. He made one bad pitch, really, to Brandon Inge. But other than that pitch, even here to the last hitter, he's throwing the ball over. He's throwing it with stuff on it. He's throwing it on the corners.
Bouncer to short. Harris throws him out. And the Twins take 2 out of 3 and recover nicely from the heartbreaking loss Friday night.